MBS critical oil lifeline teeters dangerously on the edge after friend Trump's aggressive Hormuz blockade disrupts Gulf shipping lanes? Saudi panic stands fully exposed as MBS urgently begs Trump to de-escalate tensions immediately with Iran's Mujtaba leadership. After initially cheering US pressure against Iran, Riyadh now scrambles frantically to neutralize Tehran's powerful Houthi proxy card. Tehran's mastery of global choke points rattles the entire Gulf region as Saudi Arabia smells economic disaster far beyond Hormuz alone. Not Iran, but President Trump puts his own traditional allies directly in grave danger through this stubborn naval blockade strategy. Saudi Arabia, after previously encouraging the US to take stronger action against Iran, is now reportedly urging the US to halt further escalation in the region. Saudi Arabia is actively pressing the United States to roll back its naval blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, according to a Wall Street Journal report on diplomatic communications. Saudi officials fear that increased pressure on Tehran could trigger an escalation extending beyond the Persian Gulf area into other critical maritime zones. A key concern is the potential closure of the Bab al-Mandeb Strait, which serves as a vital passage linking the Red Sea to the Indian Ocean for global shipping. This route functions as an essential alternative pathway for Gulf oil exports, especially as flows through the Strait of Hormuz remain disrupted by current restrictions. The US blockade, which became active starting April 13th, was enforced after diplomatic talks failed to reopen access through the Hormuz waterway. Riyadh's own oil exports are now rerouting to Red Sea ports, making their continued flow heavily dependent on the Bab al-Mandeb Strait remaining open and operational. If this strait is also compromised or closed, the kingdom's energy export lifeline could be severely threatened, impacting its economy significantly. Much of the concern centers on Iran's regional allies, particularly the Houthis based in Yemen, who could respond to the broader tensions. The Houthis control key stretches of the strait's coastline and have previously disrupted shipping traffic through attacks on vessels in the area. Arab officials are now warning the Houthis against re-engaging in hostilities, which could open a new front in the ongoing maritime conflict. Tensions in the Strait of Hormuz appeared to escalate on April 13th when the United States imposed a naval blockade targeting Iranian shipping, following the failure of prior diplomatic talks. Despite the newly enacted US blockade, an oil tanker successfully transited the Strait of Hormuz, according to reports from US military sources monitoring the waterway. The partially loaded oil tanker named Elpis managed to cross the strait on April 13th, as detailed in a CNN report covering the incident amid heightened restrictions. The Elpis vessel reportedly cleared the narrow waterway without incident, even as the US blockade was actively in place against Iranian-linked shipping traffic. The Elpis had been previously sanctioned by the United States due to its alleged connections to Iran's shadow oil trade network operating outside official channels. This transit occurred shortly after President Trump's announced blockade was set to begin, marking an early test of the enforcement measures in the strategic choke point. The development was reported by Iran International, which cited a CNN report confirming the tanker's passage through the restricted area. US President Donald Trump said on April 12 that the US Navy would move to lock down the Strait of Hormuz after negotiations with Iran failed to produce a lasting agreement. Trump also declared that US forces would intercept, on global seas, any ship that continued to pay transit tolls or fees to Iran, signaling a bid to choke off Tehran's maritime revenue. Later, the US military announced that a naval blockade on Iran would formally begin from 10 a.m. Eastern Time on April 13th, setting a precise start time for the operation. American commanders stated that they would seek to blockade all maritime traffic entering and exiting Iranian ports, dramatically tightening pressure on Tehran's trade routes. Meanwhile, uncertainty continues to affect other ships navigating the narrow Strait of Hormuz, with many operators hesitant amid the evolving restrictions. The Botswana-registered tanker Oster IA abruptly turned back just minutes after the US deadline passed, altering its course away from the blockade zone. Another vessel, the Rich Starry, reportedly drifted near Iran's Keshem Island, effectively stalling its movement as shipping patterns shifted. Shipping data shows hundreds of vessels are now stranded on either side of the Hormuz choke point, unable to proceed due to the imposed restrictions. This bottleneck at the key global oil waterway carries serious implications for international energy markets, potentially disrupting supply chains worldwide. In response, Iran's elite Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps issued a warning to the US and its allies against any miscalculations, hinting at severe consequences if the plan goes ahead. The IRGC Navy said that one wrong move by the United States would plunge its forces into a deadly whirlpool of destruction, evoking the image of a catastrophic confrontation at sea. According to Iranian media, the IRGC currently controls the strait and is only allowing civilian ships to pass under strict conditions that Tehran itself sets and monitors. The Guard stressed that any foreign warships attempting to pass through the Strait of Hormuz would be treated as a direct provocation and would lead to an armed confrontation. Iranian forces added that attempts by US warships to cross the strait would also constitute a violation of the two-week ceasefire that Tehran and Washington had agreed upon. Tehran's sharp warning followed US claims that 2 American warships had transited the Strait of Hormuz, while peace talks were still underway. The US said that the USS Peterson and USS Murphy moved through the strategic waterway during April 11th to 12th as part of ongoing regional operations. Washington stated that this transit was carried out as part of a mission to ensure that the strait was fully clear of sea mines and safe for commercial shipping. Admiral Cooper said the U.S. Navy had already begun the process of establishing a new, safer passage corridor through the mined area of the strait. Cooper added that details of this safe pathway would be shared with the global maritime industry soon, in an effort to reassure shipping companies amid heightened tensions. However, Iran denied that any U.S. military vessels had successfully transited the Strait of Hormuz, directly contradicting the American account. Tehran claimed that 2 U.S. warships attempted to enter, but turned back after facing an Iranian missile lock and drone threats in the narrow waterway. Iran and the U.S. had agreed to a 2-week truce on April 7th, but subsequent peace talks held in Pakistan failed to deliver a breakthrough, setting the stage for the latest escalation.
I would say it's holding well. Their military is destroyed. Their whole Navy is underwater, you know that. 158 ships are gone. Their Navy's gone. Most of their mine droppers are gone. We have a lot of people, as you know, at 10 o'clock tomorrow, we have a blockade going into effect. That'll be 10 o'clock tomorrow. Other nations are working so that Iran will not be able to sell oil. And that will be very effective. But what we want to do is we want to, and again, we don't need it. What we notice and what we see and what I think is maybe my idea, maybe not, I don't know. But there are many boats heading toward our country to fill up with oil and then go and take it. So they're not going to go through the Hormuz Strait. And ultimately that'll be corrected. But in the meantime, they're using us. We have more oil because of drill baby drill. We have more oil than Russia and Saudi Arabia put together. I think Iran is in very bad shape. I think they're very desperate. We had a meeting that lasted 21 hours. We understand the situation better than anybody, and Iran's in very bad shape. And just so you understand, Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. Will not have. There is no way that they're going to get. They still want it, and they made that clear the other night. Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. Oh, I don't know. I don't care if they come back or not. If they don't come back, I'm fine. Their military is gone. Their missiles are largely depleted. The manufacturing capability for missiles and drones is largely defeated. We've been very nice. We haven't ripped down too many bridges. We did one only because they broke their word. They broke their promise. And remember, their promise was that they were going to open the Hormuz Strait. They didn't do it. They lied. We don't like a pope that's going to say that it's okay to have a nuclear weapon. We don't want a pope that says crime is okay in our cities. I don't like it. I'm not a big fan of Pope Leo. He's a very liberal person, and he's a man that doesn't believe in stopping crime. He's a man that doesn't think that we should be toying with a country that wants a nuclear weapon so they can blow up the world. I'm not a fan of Pope Leo.